This time I have a Sony Digital 8. It's a DCR-TRV340. This one was shipped in from a viewer in Calgary, and he says it doesn't work. The power switch has a problem, and he has no playback. So we're going to take a look at this one and do the normal stuff that needs to be done and get this one working. And these are actually not a bad little camera. One of the ones I would recommend getting if you are digitizing tapes, because it plays all the 8mm formats. I received the package in the mail. Something to fix. Let's see what I got. This one came from Calgary. I believe it's a camera. It's about the right size for a camera. What do we got? We have a camera, of course. Which model did we receive? We have a DCR-TRV340, and this one is broken. So we're going to fix this one up, or at least try to fix it. Let me get set up. We'll get a power supply to power this up and just see what it is or isn't doing. First things first, I'm going to plug it in to my monitor using a Sony connection cable. Now these are different than other connection cables. Let's just plug in the video output, the AV output. I'm going to turn it on and see if I get a picture. There's a battery on here, so we'll see if we get a picture from the camera, which I do. Still having to use the CRT monitor mounted up in the corner because my plasma is what I'm using for my viewfinder for my production camera, as my LCD is still broken. I'll get around to fixing that at some point. Anyway, the camera section here works. Zoom in and zoom out, so that part works. Let's check the tape out. Actually, let's flip out the screen and make sure that it works. And the flip out screen works. So we can use that for now. We know the video output works, so I'll just disconnect that for now. We'll deal with the flip out screen initially to see whether we get a picture. I'm going to load up a tape. I'll try both an analog tape and a digital. I think this one has analog playback. Does it? Some of these did, and some did not. I think this one did. Well, I think the problem is going to be the power switch, actually. See, I put it into playback mode, and it turns on, but you just have to breathe on it and it goes off. See what I mean? So I think we got a power switch problem on this. This is the way we fix power switches, by the way. Now, I'll get in there with some cleaner, but just to try to get it to stay on, we'll do that. See whether that'll clean it up a bit there. No, see, it's going to need to be cleaned. But that's not too worried about that right now. Let's open this up. And I'll first put an analog tape in because I want to see what happens. I want to see if it'll load the tape or kick the tape out. We're going to observe what happens here, and we're going to use our ears and we're going to listen for the drum and so forth. When you load a tape, a couple things happen. Before I load any tapes, I'm just going to look in here and make sure that there's nothing that's missing. Make sure that the guides and everything are there, which they are. I don't see anything missing in here. I see a pinch roller. It looks to be in good shape. And okay, we're going to load a tape, and I'm going to shut up, and we're going to listen to what happens. What we should see and hear is the drum should rotate and the capstan motor should rotate. If either fail to rotate, it is going to just kick the tape out. If it doesn't pick up the signals from the servo that it's operating at the correct speed, it's going to kick the tape. Only after the self-check is done will the cassette go down. So if the cassette doesn't go down when you load a tape, if the cassette does not go down, it's a problem in communication between one of the motors and the servo. So let's observe. Turn a light on so I can see what's going on down here. I'm going to watch the drum. Can you guys see it? Probably not, but I'll tell you if it spins. Drum spinning, and the tape is loading. Now it's going to move the tape forwards and backwards, It's rewinding, or it's going in reverse, and it's going forward. So I can tell that the tape is moving. That part's good. Will this play the tape? Turn on the display. This is an analog tape. Will this switch to analog mode? But it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there like it's trying to play a tape that there's nothing on. We'll remove the tape. And now I'll load a tape that is in Digital 8. Some aquariums. Are we going to get playback? No, we're not. We're not getting playback. Now, this could be a number of things. It could be dirty heads. That's the first possibility, is that the heads are dirty. It also could be that the head drum has come detached from the circuit board through a bad edge connector. That's also another possibility. We'll find out once we get into the camera. So now I have to take things apart. So we'll close this down and we'll start removing screws and watch this thing fall apart. I'll remove the battery from the camera here. Interesting thing about these batteries, the lithium M. So I've got a couple of these cameras. I got two 240s that use these batteries, and I have a digital SLR camera. Actually, it's an SLT, but it uses also the lithium M battery. I can take the battery from my digital SLR and I can put it on my digital 8 camera. It'll work fine. If I take the MP-FM30 from the digital 8 camera and put it in my Sony SLR camera, it says, sorry, this battery is the incorrect battery and it will not turn on. Sony with their stupid chips. It's probably got to do with capacity of the battery, but I just figured I would throw that out there for people that are buying aftermarket batteries wondering why they don't work a lot of times. It's because Sony has a chip in their lithium batteries and they do not work on other models. Some of them are backwards compatible, others are not. Like the V series batteries, like this camera I'm using, will work on everything. It'll work on the H series and all the other series that they fit on. It'll work on. But the H series batteries won't work on most of the cameras that require the V series. And even though those batteries have a different notch on them so they physically won't fit the camera, what people will do is they'll grind the notch back a bit so that it will fit. It still won't work because they've chipped it. I shouldn't say it won't work. It won't work on some cameras. Others it will. This camera that I'm using here, the AX33, the AX53, and the AX100 will work with them, with an H series battery that's had the notches cut in them. But other cameras won't. Other cameras will just reject it and say, incorrect battery installed. And I have one, I think it's a CX220, that I can use a V-series battery on, but if I try to put one of the H-series batteries on it, it will just shut down. Like it'll just shut right off. It'll run for, I shouldn't say shut off, it will run for, I think, 90 seconds. I can do a 90-second recording, and then it just shuts off at that point. So I'm removing the arrow mark screws. And we need to remove, there's some more screws down here. First things first, I'll try to clean the heads using the good old fingernail technique, because that works well on these. just see if the heads are dirty. We are going to do the edge connectors on them because it's something that does need to be done on these cameras. All these cameras require that done eventually. And this should lift off. Just one more screw down here that everybody forgets. These weren't my favorite camera as far as service goes, because of the amount of work you had to do to get at them. Although I do like it as a archiving machine, and I use a 240 as an archiving machine because I modified this cover so I could remove this cover without disassembling the camera. It makes it easy to clean the heads, because this one here I got to pull this front off, and I got to pull the front off to take another screw out that's under here so that I can remove this cover, and I need to get there. So get that out of here. I think I got all the screws out. Yep, screws are all out there. This is going to pull off the front here. It's sometimes a bit tricky. You gotta kind of hit it to get it. There's a catch down here that will pull off, and you don't want to pull it too hard because you don't want to rip the ribbon cable that connects to the focus on here. But it is a challenge sometimes because you try to do it so gently, right? You don't want to damage anything. Sometimes you just have to spudge it a bit. You see it's a nice edge connector here, and people tend to pull them. And when that clip releases, it can come off violently and rip this connector. And that's bad because that's got your microphones on it and your manual focus and everything. The encoder for the manual focus is on there. Now that I've got this off, I can take out this last screw. And now I can remove this top cover and access the heads. Now it might be that these edge connectors here have come undone. Very common, but let's try it now. Put the battery back on, and we'll try cleaning the head using the fingernail method. The only other real way to clean these is with an 8mm cleaning tape. And getting 8mm cleaning tapes these days is like pulling teeth. They're not that easy to find. I will get that tape of the fish, wherever I did with it. It's in digital 8. That's not it. Where is it? Here it is. Everything seems to be loading. You'll see the tape move here. Okay. Playback. No picture. Let's just do the old fingernail on the head. Very gently, the back of the fingernail. Oh, there we go. Clogged heads. Completely clogged heads. That was what was wrong with this machine. They were so badly clogged that, and that's why I went right into the machine, is because there's a good chance that the 8mm cleaning tape may or may not have worked. It may have worked if it was done multiple times, but the problem with doing them multiple times is that every time you use those abrasive cleaning tapes, you do remove a little bit of the tape itself, of the head surface. Looks like we may have clogged again. Either that or this connector is bad, but looks like the head clogged up again. Let's just, yeah, it did. Head's still clogged. It's bad. You can see here, if you notice the picture breaking up, that's both heads are clogged. Let's just do it again here. So we'll stop the machine. When playing a digital 8 tape, this drum spins at 4,500 RPM. It's still moving. We'll stop it. So those are the heads. There's one. There's the other. And there's the third. There's 3 heads on these. You can see the debris that's been around here. It doesn't have a lot of wear either. If you look at mine, if I were to show you mine, the drum on mine, you can actually see where the tape, mine's got tons and tons of hours on it. Like my 240, the heads are probably almost shot. I've got a spare camera to pull the heads out of when it dies, that I'll be doing when the head finally wears out. But mine, you can actually see a wear mark on here from where the tape is. It's dull from the tape contact. But basically what we're doing is we're using the edge of the fingernail, this part, right? You're not using this part of your fingernail, you're using the back side of your fingernail up against the drum. So we're putting it like this. And just the lightest amount of pressure. And what that will do is your fingernail is hard enough to dislodge a clog, but it's soft enough that the head itself will not be damaged. Obviously, you don't want to put the edge of your fingernail on there. You put the edge of your fingernail on there, you could damage the heads. But we're not doing that. We're doing the flat part. And that trick, incidentally, was taught to me by a man named Leo Partonen, who was the head engineer at the TV station that I worked at. He passed away a number of years ago, but that was the trick that he taught me that was done in master control and so forth when a head clogged on the air. Rather than take the tape off, unspool the tape and clean the machine and go back on the air, a lot of times what the engineers, the tape heads as they call them, the tape operators, would just reach in and on the air. And yeah, they would do it through the tape. They wouldn't do it on the bare drum because you didn't have access to that. Where the tape was going around, they would just put their fingernail through the tape itself. And yeah, it would scratch the tape, but the broadcast guys didn't care. Usually it was commercials or something, right? They didn't care if the tape got scratched. Too bad. The tape, it's now a damaged tape. Usually when the head clogged, it was because of bad tape anyway. But as you can see, it's playing flawlessly now. So I think what we'll do on this now is we're going to continue to disassemble this unit. Just take the tape out. Oh, you know what? Let's see if it plays back analog. Oh, it does. It does. It says analog. It's high 8. So this one does. So it's the 350 and the 250 that don't. This does play 8mm. There it is. Okay, good. It makes me feel better because I think the ones that don't support analog playback, I wasn't a big fan of those machines. I've got one. I had 2 given to me actually. I've had 2 of them given to me over the last donated from users. One of them, the head was donated, or the chassis was donated to fix my 240 that was also given to me because somebody decided to take it apart and remove a tape, and they just ripped all the guides and everything out of it and destroyed the mechanism. So I pulled the chassis out of the 250 and put the chassis into the 240, made myself a good playback machine, and another 240 was given to me that had some issues, and I fixed that. I'm just wondering why I didn't see the option on here to mine's got an option on here. Oh yeah, there, I must have missed it. Maybe it's because there was no tape in it. That's probably why. You can go down here to playback mode, auto or high 8.8. So there we go. So this is, well, we know it plays it, but that's where the menu was missing because I guess there was no tape in it. This one's also got the capability. These are really nice. These are good cameras, right? If you're looking for a camera for digitizing your 8mm and video 8 or high 8 and 8mm tapes, as well as any digital 8 tapes you may find a 240 or 340 or like a 740, which is the older one, or a 110 or 120, DCR-TRV340 or 120. They all have a time-based corrector built in, which you can turn on and off, as you can see here. TBC. You can turn it on or off. There's no reason to turn it off. They all have digital noise reduction. They all have this mode called AV to DV out. If you turn that on, you can feed in an analog signal using the AV port on the side and or S-video, and it will turn it into a DV signal and send it out FireWire, and then you can capture it on your computer. And you can use this as a capture card, and it stacks up amongst the best. for capturing. If you're capturing over DV and you've got a FireWire card or a 1390, is it 1396? IEEE 1396, I think, or 1397. Anyway, we all called it FireWire. Sony called it iLink. If you've got FireWire, iLink, 1390, whatever it was, on the computer, this will work as a great way to capture. And the quality is excellent. I don't use it for that, because when you play an analog tape, that's for taking an analog input. When you play an analog tape, it will automatically give you a digital output signal. So you can put a high 8 tape or an 8mm tape into one of these cameras and it will digitize it for you using the capture hardware that's in here, which is excellent, and send it to your computer as a DV signal. Or in my case, I can send it right into my actual standalone capture card, has a DV input. So this is what I do when I'm capturing people's tapes, either to DVD or to a USB stick. My capture equipment has a FireWire on it, so I don't even need to use my computer. And another thing these cameras can do is, I just did a batch for a fella. I just did 17 tapes. He had 17 digital 8 tapes that were recorded in PAL. Now the output here will not give you an analog output in PAL. It'll give you a rolling picture. You'll see the image on here, and it would say, I think it said I-50 or something, right? 50 hertz. I think it was 50i. That's what came up on the screen here when I played them. But the DV port is sending out a FireWire signal in PAL on DV. So they'll play it, you can capture it on the computer or on any device. My particular capture card that I've got doesn't support, my standalone capture device does not support PAL over DV, but my computer does. So when I had these tapes, I had to just actually capture them on the computer and send them out that way. It was an extra step. I had to use my computer for it, but it does have the capability of doing that. Before I put this thing back together, I'm going to address this switch because we know that it's got an issue, and I'm going to also just do the connectors, because these connectors, they all have to be done. It will cause intermittent issues at some point down the road, so we might as well take care of this while I'm working on it. So I've got all the screws out, so now I can just pop out. Oh, I've got one more screw here. I've got to take out this one that holds the little side cover on. I threw that away on mine because I just used mine as a machine for capturing. And now I should be able to just pop the side cover off here. Oh, gotta take the memory stick out. 8 megabytes. Wow. That was a big memory stick back in the day. 8 megabytes. Like, we're talking, one more screw. Of course, there's always one more screw. We're talking, memory cards that have got terabyte on them now. And 128 and 256 are pretty much the normal ones that you buy these days, right? 8 megabytes. It's only for still images, obviously. Pop out these two connectors, that one and this one here. And the connectors that need to be reseated are these ones along here. They fail. There's 4 of them. There's one that's covered up here, so I got to take this piece off as well. Just to get to this switch to throw some cleaner into it, because I can see it's intermittent. It's touchy. Mine's touchy too on mine. Got to remove the viewfinder and probably this connector here for the memory card. Take off that bit of tape there so that I can undo this connector and the battery, of course. See, all this has got to come off to get into these things. This should just pop off here, I think. There's a screw in here. This should just lift right off. And I probably got to take these ones out to take the viewfinder off to get to it. It's all because of this stupid memory card reader. There, that one's off there. And there is one more stupid screw, and it's right on the front here. I got to take the memory card reader out too, and of course I don't want this to get damaged. Flexible cables, I hate them. I hit a screw right here. This screw holds that side cover on. It's a plastic screw. Now I can remove the viewfinder. Take that out. And now I can remove this battery compartment. So I can access this switch down here and spray it with some contact cleaner, because I'm not going to take it apart. It's just a contacts onto a little piece of circuit board stock. So we'll just get the contact cleaner and spray it in there. And that'll fix that part of that switch up so that it won't be intermittent like that. That should do it. We want to reseat these 4 connectors on the top. They give us lots of trouble. Easiest way is to put a screwdriver or something underneath them to give them some support, and then just squeeze them between your finger and the screwdriver, and then you can just lift them out and push them back in. Just like that. There, that one's in. This one they've put some tape on this one to try to stop it from working its way loose. This is one that quite often works its way loose. This is the one that connects the rotation sensors and stuff. It causes lots of headaches when this one goes out. Like the motors spin up really fast, or it doesn't load, or it plays for 10 seconds and then stops. So we'll just pull that one out a bit and push it down. I don't even need to pull them all the way out. I just have to move them enough that it will break any oxide or oxidation that's formed on it. This next one here, these are the drum ones. One's for the motor and one's for the heads. And sometimes these connectors have been known to break off the board, but that's not the case on this one. Push it back down. Same with this one. We're just going to move it out just a little bit and then push it back down so that it seats. Put the battery compartment back in and that hidden screw. Our battery connector back in. We'll reset this screw for the memory stick. Go through this ferrite bead so they can plug it in. Otherwise it's difficult to plug this one in. Not that anybody's going to use a camera like this for taking still photos. I mean, that was kind of a joke. It recorded still photos at 640 by 480. So anybody that's taking pictures on these is, I mean, we're talking like, you know, late 90s when did this camera come out? Is there a date on this one? Early 2000s. It's late 90s, early 2000s when the Digital 8 came out. Viewfinder, gotta put the little flex cable back through here. You guys wonder why I haven't had any videos up lately. I was doing a drone video, which is up by now, but I was doing the drone video and I spent several days on that. I had a lot of things to do with that one. First of all, I had to wait for the weather, but I shot the footage in 1080 with the production camera. I didn't bother to put my production camera into 4K. I shot it in 1080. And then I up-resed it to 4K because the camera on the drone was 4K. And I wanted to show off the quality the best I could. So I had to resize everything, but the biggest issue was the camera records, well, it records both to the SD card as well as to the phone, which is fine. The phone is only recorded at 720. The SD card is recorded at full 4K, right? But it records in H.265, which is fine, and anybody with modern editing software can import a H.265 file like there's no tomorrow. The problem is that I'm not using modern editing software. I'm using Adobe Premiere CS6, which is like, I don't know, probably 10 years old, if not older. I've been using it as long as I've had the YouTube channel, so it's at least a dozen years old. I think I put this computer together in like 2011 or something like that. Anyway, it's old, and the reason I'm using it is because I own the software. I don't rent. I'm not one of these guys that like to rent their software and pay a monthly fee. I'm the anti-software rental guy. I own my software, and I bought this software back in the day when Adobe sold you the software, and you basically had a lifetime license to use it as long as you wanted to use it. But it falls behind. It'll do 4K. It handles the 4K video from this camera and my other two 4K cameras, no problem. But it doesn't handle the newer codecs. So what I have to do is I have to transcode from HEVC, or H.265 as it's also known, down to H.264. And that is a slow process to do it right. To do it right so that you don't get losses. I do a lossless conversion. And it's slow. Like to do a 2 gig file, which is like 5 minutes of video, it's like 2 hours to transcode it over. So yesterday I was out shooting this video. I had to get my drone operator's license because it was a drone that's over 249 grams. So I had to register it with Navigation Canada, or Nav Canada, and I had to go on the website and do my drone operator's pilot's test, which had questions in there that I'm questioning who thought that this was I'm answering questions dealing with stalling of a fixed wing aircraft. Like what happens, what is the pressure increasing on the front or back side of the wing during the stall? All kinds of questions which were completely irrelevant to operating a toy, basically. But it gives me my certificate to operate anything from 250 grams to 25 kilograms. I can now fly any drone up to 25 kilograms, as long as they don't fly it over people or over crowds, because I didn't go for that license. I just went for the basic one for photography. And it's only because, same price, it's just that there's a lot more questions, and I just didn't feel like brushing up on that. And I just wanted to get the one that I could get, and I did it. So I did that, got the license, and I went and shot my footage. And I had to wait for the weather because the weather's been terrible here over the last couple weeks. It's been at least we don't have any snow. It doesn't snow here where I am, or very, very rarely. But I had to edit that, and I spent the day yesterday shooting the video and editing it, and it's actually rendering now so that I can upload it. So while I was doing that, I wasn't fixing anything. And this one arrived today anyway. And I got a few other things to work on. I just haven't got to them yet. So we'll be getting to them shortly. Let me get this one back together, and we'll test it. Make sure that everything is going to work on it. I think I can probably power it up now without the nose cone on and verify that everything's going to work. So we'll just open this up. Pop a tape in. And verify that we have playback. Which we do. Okay. time to put the rest of the camera back together. I'm not going to do it on this camera, but I did it on my own and I did video to show how to do it. But if you remove this section right here, cut this off, then you can put this on and hold it in place with one screw. And if you need to open the camera to clean the heads while you're digitizing tapes, for example, you can just flip the thing open without having to open the camera up. I'm not going to do it on this one because it's not my camera, but I'm just saying that's an easy mod. I've got a video detailing how I did it on my other camera, and it's basically, you're just going to cut this off. This will still be held in place with one screw, but you don't have to disassemble the whole camera to clean the heads. Put the screw in that holds this together. I'm just going to put this other screw in the top here as well. The front cover can go on. I turned it off, by the way, just so that you guys know that. I have not removed the battery, but I've turned off the power, so we're good. Plug this in. This is where you insert the comment about them using children to put these things together at the factory, right? That's on. Now it's just a matter of putting all the screws back in. I will save you guys the boredom of that, and we'll pick this up once I've got all the screws back in. And just in case anybody's wondering, there are 5 screws left over here, and there's 5 more screws to go in. They're all over here to hold the front, or to hold the door on, I should say, the tape door. So we just have to do that. I think that's right. That'll release it. Yep, holds that open. And we throw the 2 screws in the bottom here, and 3 more, 1 on the side and 2 up top. VCR, actually, let's put it into memory mode and see if there's anything on the memory stick. I doubt that there is. I don't know, is that the right mode for that? Oh, gotta do that. And hey, he's got some MPEG videos on this thing. Huh. Yeah, that would look real good. That would look, I bet it looks terrible on a monitor. I'm not going to show you guys it, obviously. I just want to see how bad it looks. I think it'll play it on the TV. Will it play it on the TV? Oh yeah, it does. I'll show you how bad this is. This is a joke. Like, this is a step up from the 240, which is what I have. The 340 added the memory playback and recording, and well, I'll show you this. I have to show this. You can see it there. Yes, it is framed with a border. The quality is so bad I don't think I have to worry about anybody being upset about revealing their identity because, well, it looked terrible. How do I play this back, MPEG? Yeah, that's playback. I kid you not. That is what they thought was acceptable back when this was new. Isn't that ridiculous? Absolutely ridiculous. That's MPEG playback. And then of course it had, does the playback zoom work? Probably not. What do we got? What else is on here? Yeah, oh, it's got the preset make a photo frame with a blue background so it would superimpose where it was blue. This came built in. You could put video, right? You could put this up and have video. So you could put live video from the camera and superimpose it in there. So these came preloaded. You could take pictures and store them on the memory stick. And you could do those ridiculous MPEG videos. Alright, one last playback of video. There we go. Make sure it's got sound. I don't. Oh, there might not be sound on this tape. You know that? I don't think there's sound on this tape. No, this tape doesn't have any sound on it. This was a work tape that had no sound recorded on it at this point. We'll play an analog tape. There is sound on the analog tape. Nice burning on my CRT as well. How can you tell I use this to monitor security cameras? Anyway, this one's done. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.